Ladies and gentlemen, let's now look at a Supreme Court judgment that is protecting your right to criticize a government policy and protest against the state. It's an important judgment and comes at a time when ideological divides are deep, tempers run high, and people are very quick to take offense. The Supreme Court, ruling in a case where a Kashmiri professor was booked for criticizing the abrogation of Article 370 and wishing Pakistan a happy Independence Day, the Supreme Court was very, very clear. It said that every criticism is not an offense. And if we thought so, democracy will not survive in this nation. This is the Supreme Court of India having to step in and state the obvious. Setting aside a Bombay High Court order and quashing an FIR against the Maharashtra-based professor, the court said that every citizen of the country has a right to criticize a government's decision, not just a government at the center, but a government at the state as well. In fact, the court has said, and I quote, "Wishing your neighbor nation like Pakistan on their Independence Day cannot be termed as an offense. It is a goodwill gesture, and motives cannot be attributed to the professor only because he belongs to a particular religion." In this case, he was a Muslim. Is that why he was booked? Is that why the police came knocking to his door and dragged him to court? This professor in question teaches in a college in Kolhapur. He's the one who had posted criticism on a WhatsApp group that consists of his parents, other teachers, and his students. In case you're wondering what he had said, this is what he had said as his WhatsApp status. August 5th, a black letter day. Ladies and gentlemen, for a moment, just for a moment, leave your ideology aside and ask yourself this. Is this an offense? Is saying August 5th a black day or a black letter day, is that an offense? It isn't to any reasonable mind. Then why did the police book the professor in the first place and let the process become the punishment? And why did the Bombay High Court play along? The Apex Court today has underlined the need to educate our police machinery about the concept of freedom of speech and expression, essentially saying that they cannot book citizens for criticizing a government. But there was a caveat that came from the court. The court also said that protest or dissent must be within four corners of the modes permissible in a democratic setup. My guest this evening, Sanjay Hegde, is a senior advocate joining us on the broadcast. Desh Ratn Nigam is a lawyer, and we have Javed Sheikh as well. He is the petitioner's lawyer. He is joining us on the broadcast. Javed, can I ask you how your client has reacted to what the Supreme Court has said today? I ask you this question because to many people who have been watching this case closely, the process ends up becoming the punishment. The Supreme Court has had to state the obvious today, saying that every individual has a right to criticize a government and its policies. But many people will say the poor professor has already been harassed for the last 3 years.
You're absolutely right over there. I, for one, Shreya, would agree with you that what the Apex Court has said today is what's obvious. What's critical for me in this judgment, I'll come to the expression of what my client feels. We all know the human aspect would be necessary. But before I come to that, what the Apex Court has said is that the right to criticize the government is not only protected under Article 19, it's not your freedom of speech and expression alone. It's actually necessary and essential for you to live your dignified life. So the Apex Court takes it to a higher level and says that you cannot live your life in a dignified manner unless you have a right to criticize the government. So that's very important for me. Jurisprudentially speaking, it takes us to a very different level, which you can call it as a Marbury versus Madison moment. The lawyers would understand it. Where for the first time, actually, the Apex Court took over the judicial review of legislations made by Parliament. This is something equivalent to that. If you say that the right to criticize the government, being critical of your government, does not amount to an offense, and it sets out all the parameters under section 153 and says that none of those parameters of spreading ill will or spreading harmony would come into it. And what Apex Court said was, okay, if you refer the judgment, Apex Court reproduces the statement that fixed August Black Day, a black letter day, as you rightly put it. What the Apex Court said was that below it were written, restore 370, restore statehood. So this was in a backdrop where a state has been split into two union territories. And in that backdrop, this gentleman merely kept his WhatsApp status, which was an expression of his unhappiness. Now, the Apex Court says that if you are unhappy, you have a right to express under 19. And that right to express under 19, if it's unhappy, even if though it may be critical of the government, the desirability or availability of right to criticize the government is justified under Article 21. But this is something which is very new, and this is the facet which the Apex Court comes. As for my client, I can speak, he feels elated.
So you're telling me...
A bit late. A bit late, but he's elated about it. That much I can assure you.
Okay. Deshratna Nigam, please help me understand. Thank you very much. Deshratna Nigam, please help me understand. What was so offensive if a professor of Kashmiri origin is unhappy with the abrogation of Article 370 and puts out a WhatsApp status calling Article 370 on August 5th a black letter day? What was criminal in this?
Shreya,
why did the Supreme Court today have to state the obvious?
Shreya, it is very important while an FIR is being lodged, under what section you lodge it. So here the ingredients of 153 are not made out. Not at all made out. I do not know about his past conduct or whatever he said it, whether the two tweets we are talking about, the Happy Independence Day for Pakistan and this Black Letter Day, were simultaneous or not. I'm not even sure. However, based on this purely 153A and these two tweets, the ingredients are not met for lodging a criminal complaint. That I am sure of. However, if there is other material on record, then some other sections can be brought in, not this particular section.
Mr. Deshratna Nigam, there is nothing else. In fact, I'm frankly, if you ask me, I'm not someone who studied the law, right? I'm just a common citizen. And I'm a common citizen who looks at stories closely because it's my job as a journalist. But what also surprises me, and I wonder if Sanjay Hegde has joined us in the matter as well, is the Bombay High Court that last year refused to quash the FIR against this young Kashmiri professor. The Bombay High Court, while refusing to quash the FIR, Mr. Hegde, Mr. Nigam, let me just quote what the Bombay High Court had said. The Bombay High Court had said, in sensitive matters, any critical words or dissenting news must be expressed after a proper analysis of the whole situation. This is a WhatsApp status. Is the Bombay High Court telling me that if the matter is quote-unquote sensitive, I have to do a full analysis to even put out a WhatsApp status?
Shreya, in fact, what I was talking about is exactly what the Bombay High Court is saying, in the sense full analysis. If there was any other material, past conduct, then there could be a chain and you can consider it. But since you're saying there is no other material, there is no other tweet of the past conduct, then I would say this 153A is not at all applicable.
Okay. So, in fact, no one actually is in a position to defend either what the Kolhapur cops did or what the Bombay High Court did. Sanjay Hegde, it has come to a point where the Supreme Court had to state the obvious today. You know, they are talking about, the Supreme Court today spoke about educating cops, educating the police on the right of citizens and the right to free speech and expression. But maybe lower courts need to be educated as well, given how the Bombay High Court had refused to quash the proceedings against this young Kashmiri professor. Uska to harassment ho gaya na? 3 saal se he's been going from court to court.
Obviously, in the court proceedings, once they start, then it's only a wise judge who can put an end to frivolous prosecutions. Now, yes, much as you might say that cops need to be educated, the lower courts need to be educated. At the end of the day, there is also a point where society needs to be educated. Society needs to know that there is nothing called authorized speech, that the government's enemies are not your enemies, that the duty of citizenship, which is cast on a common citizen, is to stand by the government in times of war or in times of conflict. But otherwise, there is
Correct.
no bar in law to wishing somebody well. I may dislike a person, but I can still say, "Oh, I wish you well, farewell, goodbye, happy new year," or whatever. That is no evidence whatsoever of any kind of sedition or treason or anything which is punishable by law. Other people may disagree with your point of view, but just because what you say is unpalatable to some people does not take away your right to say it. We need a more sensitized lower judiciary and police, no doubt. But we also need to know in our own WhatsApp groups that you cannot take offense to anything and everything that you see. If you take offense, please, by all means, just leave that WhatsApp group. But you cannot insist that a person speaks only the way that you want.
That's a very fair point, and just on the point of wishing someone well, one of the criticisms against this young professor, and one of the reasons why he was booked, Sanjay Hegde, was the fact that he had wished Pakistan a happy Independence Day. You're someone who has just mentioned that. Ladies and gentlemen, may I just tell you, barely a few days ago, the Prime Minister of this country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, wished Shehbaz Sharif all the very best for becoming the new Prime Minister of Pakistan. Is that criminal? How is criticism criminal? How is wishing someone criminal? Can I just get in Advocate Javed Sheikh? Advocate Javed Sheikh, there was some point made about, and this is a point that the Bombay High Court made about posts like this, sensitive posts like this, influencing weak minds and dividing society. What has the High Court said on that? And is that illustrative of where we stand as a country and a society today?
Now, share for our viewers, I'll tell that the Bombay High Court also said that wishing Pakistan or any other country its Independence Day would not be an offense. And there even Bombay High Court says and Apex Court agrees with it. What Bombay High Court, you really got the nerve of the matter was that why did Bombay High Court fail in doing its duty? This was a quashing petition. A quashing petition proceeds on a simple ground that if the ingredients of the offense are not made out, then it has to be quashed because it would be an abuse of process. As you rightly put, that the process actually becomes the punishment. He had suffered 3 to 4 years. He has lost his job. He had to undergo bail and all the ordeal and rigmarole of trial. And even at the fag end, when the state was put that what justification you have for booking under 153A, the state didn't have any excuse. Coming back to your question, that why did Bombay High Court refuse to quash it? Because the Bombay High Court was cited the very same judgment on which the Apex Court relies. And the Apex Court draws the test of a reasonable man sitting at the top of Chaplain Omnibus. Now, if I take this analogy and if I am a Mumbaiker, I was a Mumbaiker back then, a Mumbaiker who travels in local, okay, who carries his life in minutes. And if that person is to be shown this WhatsApp status, he would say, all right, ignore it. But the police and High Court refused to see this. The High Court said, all right, this was a sensitive issue. And as you rightly put, in a WhatsApp status, one is not supposed to, it's an encrypted statement. Nobody can see unless he wants to see.
Correct.
It's not published. It's not a publication as if you are in chat. Once you put a message in chat, every member of the chat group can see it. But your status will be visible only for those who actually are so industrious that they want to go and see it. This parrot goes and sees it. He copies that screenshot and he pastes it in the group. So it becomes his statement, not my statement. Not to say that there is anything which is criminal in that statement. But so what I'm driving at is that even the High Court came to the conclusion that this would not suffice the ingredients of 153A. And therefore, the High Court was wrong in refusing to quash it. It should have only gone by the process that 153A ingredients are not made out.
Clear.
It's an abuse of process. For Apex Court to come in,
that's
now
very
what's
clear. But to
important
me,
is that come again, please.
No, Javed Sheikh, I'm running out of time, and I wish we had more time on this chat because it's an important conversation. What I'm surprised as someone who doesn't know the law and doesn't understand the law is that how can one constitution be interpreted so differently by the Supreme Court and so differently by the High Court? That's my limited point. And to everyone who's on WhatsApp, all of us are on WhatsApp, take a chill pill, guys. You don't need to be offended with everything that gets said on a WhatsApp group. Criticism of a government is not criticism of the nation. Criticizing your government is not a criminal act. In fact, it is your duty. If you're a true patriot, you will hold your government to account. We'll leave it there for the moment, gentlemen. I wish we had more time on this. Completely out of it though. Sanjay Hegde, thank you very much. Deshratn Nigam, thank you very much. And thank you very much to Javed Sheikh, who was joining us on the broadcast as well. Thank you very much. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm slipping into a quick break on the show. There's more on the other side. Do stay with us.